a brutal carjacking.
All of a sudden, these two kids came up to me. The one said, "Give me your keys," hit me on the head. I went down.
She shares her terrifying story as voices across Maryland demand more accountability for juveniles. Plus, a suspect in this vicious assault confirmed to be a repeat offender. His connection to more than a dozen other crimes. A mother says city schools gave her son grades and service hours he didn't earn.
You don't have any idea how your son got 103 service learning hours.
Absolutely not. He doesn't even know.
Fox 45 News Project Baltimore investigates the serious allegations. Plus, a student robbed on her way to school.
He started pulling my hair.
The family's plea to the school system. City leaders address how to tackle human trafficking, the change some say they need to make to save others from becoming victims.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 10.
And we start tonight with breaking news. Former U.S. Secretary of State Henry Kissinger has died at the age of 100. His consulting firm released a statement saying the former diplomat and Nobel Peace Prize winner passed away at his home in Connecticut.
Kissinger, seen as a master statesman, but also controversial, and played an American foreign policy role that was significant. In fact, he's credited for the diplomatic opening of the gates of China. He and, of course, former President Richard Nixon, the landmark U.S.-Soviet arms control talks during the Cold War, and the end of the Vietnam War. Kissinger was also the target of critics who called his methods harsh and unrelenting.
Kissinger is survived by his wife, 2 children, and 5 grandchildren.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Kai Jackson.
And I'm Mary Bubala. Fox 45 News is learning the 12-year-old seen attacking a woman in Butchers Hill earlier this month is the same child accused in a string of more than a dozen car thefts across the Baltimore area this summer.
That connection reignites calls for stronger penalties for young people accused of crimes.
I'm pissed off at the law. This should never, and what if this could have ended really badly?
I don't want to hear apologies. I want to hear what we're going to be doing for the kids.
Tonight, our team of reporters gives a voice to those frustrated with youth crime as we demand answers from state leaders.
We begin with Mackenzie Frost and the criminal history of the 12-year-old assault suspect in a story you're seeing first on Fox.
The 12-year-old involved in that assault seen on the surveillance video is a familiar face to law enforcement. We've confirmed that he's also the same kid we reported on back in the summer in connection to a string of car thefts in Baltimore County. This video capturing the moment when a woman near Patterson Park was assaulted by 2 kids, a 14-year-old and a 12-year-old. That 12-year-old is the same kid who we aren't naming because of his age that had a busy summer stealing cars. From Essex to Dundalk, even touching Baltimore City. He was 11 at the time, and he was picked up by Baltimore County Police at least 13 times for stealing cars from the end of May to August. Fox 45 News obtaining these police reports, providing some insight into the string of car thefts, stealing Kias and Hyundais, sometimes crashing them, each time released to his family. The woman getting attacked, speaking to Fox 45 News about that incident.
He tackled me and then punched me in the head, and I got kicked. I was afraid I was going to get shot.
Frustrated, since she says the 12 and 14-year-olds were arrested and brought to the Juvenile Justice Center in Baltimore, but released hours later.
I'm pissed off at the law. This should never, and what if this could have ended really badly?
Those laws at the center of recent juvenile crime debates, especially the law preventing kids 13 and younger from facing charges for nonviolent misdemeanors, like stealing cars.
There's a lack of accountability.
Dr. Yalda Safai is a psychiatrist, and she says juveniles need structure and accountability. Without clear consequences, she says they will likely to continue to push boundaries.
You get a thrill out of doing something illegal or wrong. If you get away with it, you're going to want to chase that thrill again. So, and next time you're going to want a bigger thrill.
And in this case, this 12-year-old was stealing cars only to be sent home, seemingly escalating to now robberies and assaults. His family isn't speaking publicly, but the mom of the 14-year-old involved in this video is, and she's pleading for help.
I know he can do better.
They just need that support. I mean, something's got to give, because like I said, the way he going, he not going to be here.
Victims and parents aren't the only ones frustrated with the juvenile justice laws.
And they're doing it time after time after time again.
City State's Attorney Ivan Bates argues the plans may have been well-intentioned, but the reality is different.
If you have 11 or 12 contacts with the criminal justice system for the same exact offense, you're competent enough to steal a car, but you're not competent enough to understand who the judge is, who the prosecutor is, or who your defense attorney is. We got to get real and realize we have to hold young people accountable.
How lawmakers decide to handle the growing pressure to make changes remains a question that will likely only be answered in January, when the next 90-day session begins. In the meantime, a third juvenile crime hearing is scheduled to take place in a House committee next Tuesday in Annapolis. In the newsroom, Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News.
Another Baltimore County victim takes her safety concerns to county leaders. She says 2 teenagers carjacked her at gunpoint, steps from her house, leaving her with a black eye.
And I saw a pistol in his hand. And I said, and he said, give me your keys, give me your keys. And I'm like, and the next thing I know, he hit me in the head and I went down. These kids don't have consequences. And that's what makes me very angry. And I am furious, and I'm going after these. I want to prosecute. I want to see some type of retribution.
Well, now Donna Talent tells Fox 45 News she's considering moving out of the area. Keith Daniels went to her neighborhood this evening and joins us live with her frustration. Keith?
Well, Kai, those were frightening moments for her, and tonight, her frustration still spilling over. In this Rosedale neighborhood on Arnhem Road, many who live on this quiet block still shaken by what happened, not wanting to talk openly, publicly about the attack of a neighbor.
I'm still frustrated.
But inside her home,
he went like this with the gun, and he went boom and hit me with it.
Donna Talent, who's 72 years old, recalls those frightening moments when she came face to face with 2 boys, 15 and 16 years old, who carjacked her. Talent says she had just taken her wheelchair-bound husband inside the house.
I was parked right over there.
Was walking back to the car parked in the rear of the home when suddenly the boys approached her.
The one said, give me your keys, and I have the keys in my hand like this, hit me on the head where I have this, I still have a knot, hit me on the head, I went down.
The boys sped away, left Talent behind in pain with a concussion, with nearly 2 days spent in the hospital. The incident happened Monday, just over a week ago, but Tuesday night, still recovering.
The one pistol whipped me, and that's why my face looks the way it does.
Talent showed up at a community public safety meeting where the Baltimore County Police Chief and County State's Attorney, both familiar with her case, addressed her concerns, including her concern over laws that sometimes leave juvenile offenders with no accountability.
And I'd like to reinforce the fact that I'm going to continue to fight that because I believe when a 16-year-old hits somebody with a gun, they need to be treated like an adult.
We do our very best to try to prevent these things from happening. But the one thing I do reassure you, when they do happen, we put all of our resources on it and we try to bring those people to justice as fast as we can.
I just want to be safe in my own neighborhood, and right now I don't feel safe. I don't know. We want to stay here, and we're staying here as long as we can, but we may consider moving.
Well, we're told police did catch the suspects and recovered the badly damaged car. Meantime, it's not clear tonight if the 15 and 16-year-old boys are actually in custody or have already been released back on the streets. Keith Daniels, Fox 45 News.
Keith, thank you. Well, a battle is brewing at the state level as police and prosecutors continue to raise concerns about juvenile crime laws. Of course, we have heard from more than a dozen states' attorneys across Maryland who serve more than 87% of the state's population. They say the laws leave their hands tied, and it's time for immediate change.
Let us review all felonies. Let's address this probationary, some of these artificial limitations. Give some faith back to the judges.
It would be like legislature raising the speed limit to 100 miles per hour on interstate highways and then questioning why we're not writing more speeding tickets on the interstate.
But Democratic lawmakers in Annapolis are continuing, some of them, to stand by recent juvenile crime reform. Senator Will Smith says the laws haven't been in place long enough to see their effectiveness. Governor Moore also preaching patience about the Department of Juvenile Services, calling Director Vincent Schiraldi a reformer.
We're very clear on the challenges that DJS has had and that have been long-standing. We're clear that when we came into office, we walked into a DJS that was understaffed and underfunded. And it's the reason why I appointed a true reformer.
Well, others in Annapolis tell Fox 45 News they are more skeptical of Schiraldi's stance on juvenile crime and have been for months. Fox 45's Jeff Abel shares those concerns.
Maryland's new juvenile justice secretary hasn't been shy about the philosophies he endorses, and now a growing number of lawmakers have not been shy about their deepening concern. From the moment he was nominated, questions began to surface. Was Vincent Schiraldi the right person to dig Maryland out of its spiraling crisis of juvenile crime?
What this person is bringing to Maryland will exacerbate that problem.
Vincent Schiraldi had spent years researching juvenile justice programs and has long endorsed efforts to reduce the footprint of community corrections and eliminate youth prisons.
I'm supporting this nominee, but I do have words of caution for this department and for this nominee.
In fact, a week after the state Senate approved his appointment, the new juvenile justice secretary was at a conference supporting the abolition of probation and parole.
One of the two things probation and parole are supposed to do is keep us safer. Parole made us less safer. Probation had no impact.
At the same time, Schiraldi also believes that juveniles should not be exposed to the adult prison system until they turn 25 years old.
The systems we have now, when you put these young people in adult systems, they really don't do well.
In an interview this summer, Schiraldi explained his support for Maryland's new reform laws, which bar juveniles under 13 who commit nonviolent offenses from being criminally charged.
Kids that are really young are much more of a social service problem than they are a criminal juvenile justice problem. And when you have a 12-year-old or an 11-year-old in a detention, all you're doing is teaching that kid how to become a worse criminal.
You're basically saying up until the age of 25, which is what he wants to do, you get a free ride.
Former State Senator Jim Brochin predicted Schiraldi's philosophy was not right for Maryland, and so did county sheriffs.
Unfortunately, legislators, lawmakers, have decided that it's better to support the lawbreakers rather than those who are enforcing the law.
As the rate of juvenile crime keeps soaring, so do questions about Schiraldi's impact. Not long after he accepted the job, he told Marylanders to watch for results.
We're going to start seeing results relatively quickly, but this is an ocean liner. It's not a speedboat. You can't just turn big departments like this. You can, and it's not also just us, right? We got a society full of guns and kids with problems.
Before Schiraldi came to Maryland, he was director of New York City's Department of Corrections. While there, he endorsed the shutdown of that city's largest preeminent adult prison, Rikers Island. Jeff Abel, Fox 45 News.
Well, that brings us to our question of the day. If the election was held today, would you vote your elected leaders out of office for the way they've handled juvenile crime? So far, 97% of those who voted said yes. You can still make your voice heard by heading to foxbaltimore.com.
Coming up on Fox 45 News at 10 o'clock tonight, BGE will soon have to release more information about Baltimore's controversial conduit deal to the public. What we could learn in the coming weeks. City leaders address human trafficking in Baltimore during a public safety hearing. The change some say they need to make to get to the root of the problem.
A much milder day coming for our Thursday. I'll let you know when we could be touching near 60 around here. That's in my Weather Authority forecast.
A number of Howard County students still without school buses have been robbed on their way to school. Project Baltimore hears from one student victim as calls for change grow louder.
Tonight, serious allegations that some Baltimore City schools continue to falsify student report cards.
6 years ago, a mother told Project Baltimore her son was being cheated out of an education. Tonight, that mother tells Chris Papps it's still happening.
Me standing on FOX45, pissed off.
Project Baltimore first met Tamika Harrison and her son in 2017.
African American, they're filled up with prisons. They're filling up with the graves. I don't want this for my son.
Harrison was upset with the grades her son had received on his report card. 2 A's, 2 B's, and a C. Seems like a good marking period. Which was the problem, because Harrison's son at the time had a medical condition. He wasn't in school.
If he gets these A's and B's, damn it, it better be because he's earning them.
A student given a falsified report card by Baltimore City schools. Harrison told Fox 45 it was happening in 2017. 6 years later, she says it's still happening.
As fraudulent can be. If that's not breaking a law, I don't know what is.
Harrison's son is now 18. Fox 45 is not naming or showing him. He attends Renaissance Academy, a high school in West Baltimore. And here is his most recent progress report. Take a look at this section. You can see under Student Service Learning Hours, he's completed 103.5 hours. In Maryland, to graduate from high school, students must earn 21 course credit hours in approved subjects. They must also complete a minimum of 75 service learning hours. State law defines service learning hours as an unpaid activity completed by the student, which must meet a need in the community. Examples include honoring veterans, promoting literacy, or supporting animal welfare. At more than 103, Harrison's son has far more service learning hours than he needs to graduate. That is what his progress report says. But according to Harrison, her son didn't do any of it.
You don't have any idea how your son got 103 service learning hours?
Absolutely not. He doesn't even know. He looked me straight in my face and said, Ma, you can just get him by coming to school.
Just showing up at school?
Just showing up. I felt like I had an out-of-body experience. I'm past pissed.
In the past 6 years, Project Baltimore has spoken to a number of parents like Harrison, reporting extensively on city schools falsifying report cards. We've exposed grades that were not earned, attendance for students who were not there, and now apparently service learning hours that were not completed. Our investigations even caught the attention of Maryland's Inspector General for Education.
If you're setting them up for failure, this is a way of doing it.
In 2022, the IG released a report finding that over a 4-year period, city schools changed at least 12,500 failing grades to passing when there was no evidence the students earned the passing grade.
I'm on my way out, Chris. How are you today?
I'm doing well. Can we just talk to you on your way out?
City schools leadership will not grant Project Baltimore an interview to discuss the falsification of report cards. Harrison says she's gone to the school system multiple times and hasn't gotten any answers either. So at a recent event, we took Harrison's concerns to school CEO, Dr. Sonia Santelises.
Well, what safeguards are in place to ensure that service learning hours are awarded properly?
We are more than happy to answer that. We've got a team on that. More than happy. If you want to reach out with that question, we can get some folks to talk to you.
But does it concern you that there's a mother who says that her son is getting service learning hours towards graduation that he didn't earn?
Chris, we have so many questions from parents. More than happy to have them call us, just like we did with some of the other questions. So more than happy to do that. You can have that parent reach out to us, Chris. More than happy to talk to them.
She's reached out plenty of times. She's been at North Avenue's building.
But she is more than free to reach out, as are you. Chris, I hope you have a fabulous day.
Thank you.
Dr.
It's heartbreaking. I know my son is smart. I know when he gets it, he gets it.
In 2017, Tamika Harrison wanted her son to learn the skills he needs to be successful.
He knows that I can just show up and do 20%. They gonna give me the other 80.
In 2023, she says that's not what he's learned.
I'm gonna get a high school diploma anyway, over my dead body. Over my dead body, literally. They gonna have to kill me if they think I'm gonna let that happen.
Project Baltimore wants to hear from you. Do you have a child whose report card appears to be falsified with grades they didn't earn, service learning hours they did not complete? Call our hotline, send me an email, go to foxbaltimore.com to follow our progress. I'm Chris Pabst, and this is Project Baltimore.
And Project Baltimore did reach out to city schools requesting an interview after Dr. Sonia Santelises said a team of people would be available to answer our questions.
And the school system responded tonight with a statement saying, in part, we apologize if you misunderstood the CEO's on-camera response, which was never intended to imply an on-camera interview with staff. Our intent is always to speak directly with parents when there are challenges. The school system went on to say students begin earning service learning hours in middle school, and those hours are documented by school staff.
A Howard County family is pleading with the school system to restore school bus service after two students say they were attacked on their way to school yesterday. 15-year-old Jada Jones attends Wild Lake High School in Columbia. She and her grandmother spoke with Project Baltimore about the incident, which occurred yesterday morning at a public bus stop on Columbia Road.
Now, Jada lives 2 miles from Wild Lake and is now considered a walker. Yesterday, instead of walking, she and her friend decided to take a public transit bus. And while waiting for that bus, Jada says a man tried to rob them.
So he was grabbing on her purse, and I started punching him and trying to get him off of her. And then he started pulling my hair and punching me, like, in my chest. And we both were defending ourselves, like hitting on him, trying to get him off of us because he was fighting back. And I guess we let him loose. Like, we got off of him and we started running.
It is not fair. I want our buses back. Some of us don't have the transportation to pick their kids and take them to school. Then you made it difficult because now our children is getting hurt in the midst of this.
Well, this is just the latest incident sparking outrage over the school system's decision to cut school bus service to an estimated 3,500 students.
Early this month, 2 other Howard County high school students were robbed in separate incidents as they walked home from school. That according to police.
The school system said cutting service would make transportation more efficient with the change in school start times, but many parents say their children are not safe walking to school. The topic has led to heated debates at recent school board meetings. Fox 45 News will stay on this story.
New steps to keep the Mompah Trail in Harford County safe. The new measures in place months after Rachel Morin's body was found there.
And after bitter chill today, highs only at about 40, we're going to tack on 10 to 15 degrees tomorrow afternoon. Probably making it to the lower and middle 50s after a chilly start, and you thought that was mild. Looks like we could be close to 60 as we head into the weekend. How about that? But notice that chance of rain in there as well. I'll let you know what weekend day could also have some showers in it. That's coming up in my Weather Authority forecast.
And as we head to break right now, this is a live look at Towson in Baltimore County.
We're learning 5 Dunbar High School students got sick from taking THC at school on Monday. 3 of the students went to the hospital. Another 2 were sent home with their parents. In a letter sent home to parents Monday afternoon, the school system said it's making resources and education about the dangers of drugs more accessible for all students.
Officials in Harford County are installing cameras on the Mon Pa Trail, where the body of Rachel Marin was found in August. The new surveillance system covers nearly 2 miles of that trail, spanning from the William Street Trailhead to Tollgate Road. It will focus on the more isolated areas of the trail.
Coming up, city leaders voicing concern about human trafficking at a council meeting tonight. Why some say a policy on prostitution arrests may be handicapping police.
BGE will likely make a key public memo, surrounding the conduit deal with Baltimore City. Why one councilman says it's a huge step toward transparency. We're following new developments in 3 big stories. Police seized more than a dozen stolen dirt bikes and guns in East Baltimore. What we're learning about the suspect's criminal history.
State regulators are getting involved in BGE's controversial conduit deal with Baltimore City. Why the agency may have had to hand over important documents before rates can go up. And human trafficking was the main topic of a public safety meeting at City Hall, as police say making prostitution arrests can help tip them off about larger issues.
But Baltimore has gone a few years without making those arrests.
That's right. Fox 45's Vincent Hill joins us live with why some think it is time for a change. Vincent?
Yeah, Mary and Kai, Marilyn Mosby's data back in 2021 may have led to more trafficking victims in 2023. At City Hall, a discussion about the latest trends, training, and awareness of human trafficking. In Baltimore City, those chances grew after this announcement by then City State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby.
Clearly, the data suggests that there is no public safety value in prosecuting these low-level offenses.
At the time, chat groups of people looking to pay for sex mentioning Mosby's lax policy by name, making Baltimore a hotspot for human trafficking, according to John Ingham. The human trafficking coordinator under City State's Attorney Ivan Bates.
The pimps in our area, generally men, maintain a stable of 4 to 6 women, generally women, with another 2 to 4 being groomed as the next up.
Ingham detailing just how big the problem has become in Baltimore City.
Pimps typically only stop for 2 reasons. They die in a street confrontation, could be with another drug dealer or human trafficker, or they're arrested by police.
In Baltimore County, State's Attorney Scott Schellenberger on the importance of prostitution arrest.
One of the ways that we find women who have been abused or the subject of human trafficking is when we make an initial arrest for prostitution.
In Baltimore City.
So she's 10 years old and she's been trafficked.
The youngest victim, a 5th grader.
I don't want to say you use the victim.
Former Chief of Police Curtis Clements says prostitution arrests are more than just an arrest.
You give the victims empowerment by giving them the opportunity to let the prosecution know who's actually doing the trafficking, and you work your way up until you reach the person at the top.
In the year before Marilyn Mosby stopped prosecuting prostitution and drug charges, the arrest rate was in the hundreds. After her announcement, that number dropped to double digits. Clemens says that could have led to more victims.
They are the ones who are, unfortunately, they are drugged and are forced to do things against their will. And sometimes they may not have the mental capacity.
And according to Baltimore police, they're currently working 2 adult cases and, get this, 5 child cases of human trafficking. At City Hall, we're live. Vincent Hill, Fox 45 News.
Vincent, thank you. City State's Attorney Ivan Bates unveiled his citation docket this summer to get prostitution and other quality of life crimes under control. But Bates says most of the citations were written incorrectly, saying police aren't familiar with the new system. You can read more about the issues with this citation docket and how leaders are working to fix it at foxbaltimore.com.
Baltimore City Police announced the seizure of 17 stolen dirt bikes and ATVs and several firearms. 44-year-old Kevin Bridgeforth was arrested and charged with illegal possession of a firearm, unlawful taking of a motor vehicle, and several other violations. He had previously been charged with multiple crimes, including robbery, aggravated assault, and handgun charges.
And nearly 200 illegal dirt bikes have been seized across the city so far this year, many of them now sitting at an impound lot on Pulaski Highway. Meanwhile, residents are growing frustrated with the bikes disrupting drivers and neighborhoods.
It's a nightmare. There's bigger problems that they seem to worry about, and I get that. It's just annoying. It's drives us crazy.
I would call for a day of accountability. I'd bring those bikes together, bring a bulldozer, I would crush every one of them, and then pile all the confiscated guns and crush them as well. A day of accountability for those dirt bikes and for guns.
A BPD spokesperson says stolen dirt bikes are returned to their owner unless they were used on the streets illegally. If that's the case, the city solicitor decides whether the bike is returned to its owner.
Well, the site supervisor of the Bel Air Edison Safe Street site was in court this morning, but the trial is delayed. David Caldwell is facing state charges after federal law enforcement say they found ammunition inside his home during a search warrant. The federal agents went to Caldwell's home the same day they went to the Bel Air Edison Safe Street site in October. Agents say they found drug packaging material at Caldwell's home and seized electronics. Prosecutors say the federal search warrant is sealed, so all evidence can't be turned over to the defense yet. Caldwell's attorney, John Cox, says that delay is violating his client's due process. So far, federal prosecutors have not filed any charges. Caldwell's next trial date is scheduled for January 3rd.
Well, state regulators are ordering BGE to release an internal memo about Baltimore's controversial conduit deal. City leaders have been demanding more transparency for months, some of them saying they weren't given enough information before the deal was approved. Fox 45's Rebecca Pryor has the fallout as BGE prepares to raise rates.
It's the underground agreement pushed through under fierce pressure from Mayor Brandon Scott.
Mayor Scott also appears to be fine with conducting business in a manner that abuses the power
with which the people have entrusted him.
In this case, they're just simply wrong.
Earlier this year, the mayor fast-tracking a controversial contract, giving BGE broad control of the city's underground conduit system, which houses 700 miles of utility cables.
When I was elected as the mayor of this city, I made a commitment to always do what's in the best interest of the residents of Baltimore. And this proposed contract is just that.
The deal was done despite 2 voting members sitting out in protest, the comptroller and city council president arguing they were kept in the dark and had little time to review the multi-million-dollar contract.
The way that this entire situation has been handled is nothing more than a power grab and move that suits the interests of private industry.
What we're missing here is a judge.
Not a judge, but state regulators are now stepping in. This week, the Public Service Commission demanding BGE release an internal memo discussing the details of the conduit deal, a decision applauded by the comptroller, council president, and Councilman Zeke Cohen.
I remain deeply concerned about the conduit deal. And my message to the Public Service Commission is they made the right call enforcing public transparency.
Cohen among those requesting the memo from BGE weeks ago. In response, BGE denying access to the document, citing confidential information and account client privilege.
Why, if this is so great for the ratepayers, for the city, why would they refuse to allow an internal document which shows their financials to become public?
According to the PSC's ruling, the memo does not contain any information that qualifies as confidential or legally privileged. It also states BGE's customers have a right to know the basis and rationale for including conduit costs in base rates. Rates that are already slated to rise significantly. If approved by the PSC, under BGE's latest proposal, customers' bills could climb by 5% each year for the next 3 years.
Look, that would cost taxpayers over $600 million over the next 3 years. And so to have the public, the ratepayers, invest in their infrastructure upgrades, I think sends the wrong signal.
Rebecca Pryor, Fox 45 News.
Well, according to BGE, the conduit deal will actually save customers money. And while they disagree with the Public Service Commission's ruling, they do plan to comply. The memo is expected to be released within the next week.
BGE has faced pushback from residents on the plan to install external gas regulators across the city. A group of homeowners has launched a class action lawsuit against BGE, claiming the regulators are unsafe.